Hello Tubies, it's the second week of the subs fortnight and this week we are discussing intuition in divination. Now this is a topic that I'm actually quite interested in because for those of you who have seen my personal channel you will know that I do quite a lot of tarot, and up until recently actually I was doing online tarot readings as well, so I've had quite a lot of practice with my tarot this year especially. So we're going to talk about how we use our intuition when doing readings with things such as tarot cards and runes. For me, intuition plays a very large role in my tarot readings because obviously having 78 cards in a deck is incredibly vast number of meanings that you need to be able to remember from that. And obviously when you're new to the tarot and you start reading the different books that offer different opinions on what the cards mean, and then you get different artists' interpretations of the cards, you can begin to see how endless the possibilities are for the meanings of the cards. But the one thing that you need to do really is use your intuition to help fine-tune the meanings of those cards, to personalise the deck to you. So then you will come up with some sort of broad overview that you know a couple of details about each card and how you see that card, because quite often you can have contradictory feelings between how you relate to a card and how the book or the authors or the artists have interpreted that card for themselves. Everyone is going to see the cards differently, see the meanings differently. And one of the most famous examples that I ever remember reading personally was that, say, the tarot card you're looking at has a picture of a dog on it, and you know, you have dogs, you've kept dogs all your life, you have a very personal bond with them. That might be a very loving, very familial card to you, whereas if you had a chronic fear of dogs and you have a lot of nightmares about dogs, for instance, your intuition would tell you that this card has a very different, very negative or a very threatening appeal to it. So the cards and the artwork in the cards will be very personal to each person who reads that deck. And not only the cards in themselves, but each deck will differ again depending on the artwork used to portray that particular meaning. Then, of course, the meaning for each card changes slightly with the question that you're asking during the reading. More often than not, you get general readings, so you just let the cards sort of pick up on the energies that you have to work with at that particular moment. But then you will get a specific question, for instance, about your love life, about career, about your future, and then you will have to twist the wording of the words to fit the situation. You will have to apply the meaning of those cards. Say it's about new beginnings. If you were doing a love life spread, it'd be a new beginning, like a new relationship. If it's about career, it might be a new job opportunity or promotion. So you need to be able to use your intuition. Nobody else is going to be able to tell you how to read that card, especially when it changes with the question. So you need to use your intuition to tell you whether or not the card is talking about your question, because sometimes once you've finished laying a spread, you look at it and you think, right, how does this relate to my question, or how does this relate to my theme? And then you realise that it doesn't relate to your theme, and that maybe there's something else that is slightly more important for you to focus on at this particular moment in time. And then the meanings of the cards will change again depending on the position that you lay them down in, because there is an infinite number of spreads that you can do as well, and each number of spreads has different variations, such as the Celtic cross. I've seen at least 5 variations of the Celtic cross in my lifetime of working with the tarot, and that's, you know, one spread that's got several different interpretations of the spread, slightly different positions, slightly different number of cards, and then you've got any other number of spreads. And then if you become quite good at reading tarot, you can even start writing your own spreads to give you very specific information on exactly what it is that you're looking for. So then again, you have to fine-tune your intuition to tell you, you know, in this position I think this card is stressing a different point on its meaning, or maybe even a reversed meaning, because in my readings I don't actually use reversed cards. I try to interpret both the positive and the negative, but mainly my intuition tells me on whether or not the positive or the negative aspect is being stressed. This is normally in reference to the position that it lies in. For instance, if it's obstacles or what is holding you back, it'll probably be focusing on the negative aspect of that card, or a lack of the positive interpretation of the card. And the other thing is that it's influenced by the other cards in the spread, especially if the positions are together or the positions correlate to one another, such as obstacles, and then you lay another position which is how to overcome these obstacles. These two cards will work very closely with one another, so more often than not they will have a similar meaning that complements one another, that then focuses your attention to a particular aspect of the card that you wouldn't initially have thought of until you were reminded of it by the next card that you turned over. So for me, reading tarot is a very complex process. It's not simply turning over the card and reading the specific meaning of just that card. It changes by the positions, and it's changed again by the cards that you draw afterwards. There are two different ways of reading that I'm just going to go over quickly now. There's the one that you lay the cards face down and then you turn them over in the order that you lay them, and then you read them singly. I do like to do it that way quite often actually, but if you're doing that, what you need to be able to do is, once you've finished turning the cards over so you can see them all together, you need to do another sort of conclusion or evaluation of your spread and say, was the first meaning that I got from the cards the right one? Has it changed since seeing the position that it's in? Has it changed due to any other cards that have come out since I turned that card over? Because more often than not, once you lay all the cards down in a face-up position, then you will be able to get even more out of the card and really fine-tune the exact points that is the highlight of the tarot spread itself. So if you start by turning the cards face up, you will have an immediate response to the cards in relation to one another, or you can go through them singly and then do an evaluation or conclusion once they are all face up, which I do like to do because, again, like I say, your intuition will give you an immediate response to the card on its own, but then in relation to the bigger picture you have slightly altered or slightly more fine-tuned responses to the cards. So that is how I personally use my intuition, and that is how I recommend reading tarot cards to other people that have asked my advice on it. The other thing that I'm going to say is, I think this corresponds quite a lot to the topic we had a couple of weeks ago on woods for wands, different correspondences and the right and wrong way to do things. I think this really does relate to that because, again, you get a list of all the cards in a tarot deck and you get told that this is what each of the cards mean. But again, just like I mentioned with the dog metaphor, if to one person it is a completely different meaning than is mentioned in the book, go with that, because that is your intuition, that is your gut instinct telling you, I don't understand this meaning that has been laid down. To me, my first reaction tells me that this is what the card means. Go with that, because that will help you bond with your deck and personalise your readings, and then help you to follow your intuition during tarot spreads that you do for other people. So I hope that you've enjoyed this topic, and may you all blessed be.